Welcome to Stoic Philosophy for Life. This is not just a place to listen to books, it's a space to feel them with your soul. Here, we illuminate your mind with timeless lessons. Awaken your inner strength, cultivate self-discipline, and guide your journey of personal growth. Every word is carefully chosen to reach what you're truly seeking: peace, clarity, and lasting transformation. If this feels like the place for you, hit subscribe and walk this path with us every single day. Now, put on your headphones, take a deep breath, and begin the journey of renewing your mind and your life. Peace is not found. It is protected. That may be the single most important truth you discover after 40. In your 20s, peace was an idea. In your 30s, it became a wish. But now, it is a necessity. Not because life has calmed down, but because you have seen what happens when you do not protect your peace. You have watched your body burn out. You have watched your mind race at night. You have smiled through rooms where your spirit was shrinking. And finally, something inside you says, no more. At this stage in life, peace is not something you stumble upon. It is something you create moment by moment, choice by choice. You protect it in the way you wake up, in the way you respond instead of react, in the boundaries you no longer apologize for. You protect it in the way you no longer explain yourself. You protect it when you leave the room instead of staying to win the argument. Peace is not passive. It is a posture. And learning how to stand in it is one of the greatest acts of maturity. Have you noticed how expensive peace becomes when you are not intentional? A single negative conversation can steal your entire day. One old habit can drain your energy for hours. One small yes, said too quickly, can spiral into resentment, fatigue, and disconnection. That is why protecting your peace is not selfish. It is self-respect. And it is the first wealth you must secure before the money, before the milestones, before the recognition. Because what good is success if your spirit is exhausted? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That means your peace is not determined by your surroundings, it is shaped by your perspective. And that perspective must be trained. Like a muscle, like a ritual, like a sacred discipline. Not once, but every day. If this message moved you, share it with someone who needs it. So here is the first lesson in protecting your peace: start treating it like currency. Be selective about what you spend it on. Be mindful of who you invested in. Audit your calendar, your commitments, your conversations. And if something consistently costs you more than it gives, cut it off. Not with anger, but with clarity. You are too grown, too aware, and too seasoned to keep tolerating what drains you. From this point on, your peace is your responsibility. And every time you protect it, you reclaim a piece of yourself that once got lost in the noise. Peace is not found. It is protected. That may be the single most important truth you discover after 40. In your 20s, peace was an idea. In your 30s, it became a wish. But now it is a necessity. Not because life has calmed down, but because you have seen what happens when you do not protect your peace. You have watched your body burn out. You have watched your mind race at night. You have smiled through rooms where your spirit was shrinking. And finally, something inside you says, no more. At this stage in life, peace is not something you stumble upon. It is something you create, moment by moment, choice by choice. You protect it in the way you wake up, in the way you respond instead of react, in the boundaries you no longer apologize for. You protect it in the way you no longer explain yourself. You protect it when you leave the room instead of staying to win the argument. Peace is not passive. It is a posture. And learning how to stand in it is one of the greatest acts of maturity. Have you noticed how expensive peace becomes when you are not intentional? A single negative conversation can steal your entire day. One old habit can drain your energy for hours. One small yes, said too quickly, can spiral into resentment, fatigue, and disconnection. That is why protecting your peace is not selfish. It is self minus respect. And it is the first wealth you must secure before the money, before the milestones, before the recognition. Because what good is success if your spirit is exhausted? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That means your peace is not determined by your surroundings, it is shaped by your perspective. And that perspective must be trained. Like a muscle. Like a ritual. Like a sacred discipline. Not once, but every day. If this message moved you, share it with someone who needs it. So here is the first lesson in protecting your peace. Start treating it like currency. Be selective about what you spend it on. Be mindful of who you invest it in. Audit your calendar, your commitments, your conversations. And if something consistently costs you more than it gives, cut it off. Not with anger, but with clarity. You are too grown, too aware, and too seasoned to keep tolerating what drains you. From this point on, your peace is your responsibility. And every time you protect it, you reclaim a piece of yourself that once got lost in the noise. Protect your peace from people who cannot hear your silence. Not everyone deserves access to the quietest parts of you, the part that no longer needs to explain, to defend, or to entertain. There are people who only understand loudness, chaos, constant noise. And when you begin to value stillness, to speak less and listen more, they feel uncomfortable. They try to pull you back into the noise, not out of malice, but because your peace exposes their unrest. But here is the truth: your silence is sacred. It is the space where clarity returns, where your nervous system resets, where your soul catches up with your body. And if someone feels threatened by your quiet, they were never aligned with your calm. After 40, you learn that presence is not proven by words but by energy. The people who truly see you will not need you to fill every pause. They will respect the room you need to breathe. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That is the shift. You stop trying to explain your evolution. You start living it. In how you respond. In who you let in what you walk away from. The older you get, the more you realize not everyone gets to go with you. Especially those who only understand you when you are shrinking. Rule number 3, curate your company with care. Not out of judgment, but out of alignment. Do they leave you feeling heavy or light? Do they pull you into drama or into depth? Can you be fully silent in their presence and still feel understood? Those are not soft questions. They are survival questions. Because peace does not exist in a vacuum, it is shaped by your environment. There is a kind of loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people who do not hear you unless you are performing. And there is a deep joy that comes from sitting in silence with someone who holds space without needing sound. After 40, choose the latter. Choose the rare over the loud. Choose the one who honors your energy, not just your availability. You are not difficult for needing space. You are not distant for protecting your peace. You are not cold for being selective with your words. You are just done with noise that costs you clarity. And now you are building a life that respects your silence as much as your voice. Your peace increases when your attachment decreases. Not your love. Not your compassion. Not your effort. Your attachment. The need to control outcomes. The desire to be understood by everyone. The obsession with how things should be. These attachments are subtle, but they are heavy. And they are the root of most suffering, not what happened, but what you believed must happen in order for you to feel okay. After 40, you begin to see just how many expectations you have been carrying. Expectations of how others should treat you. How your life should have unfolded. How your career, your family, your body, your bank account should look by now. And when reality does not match those expectations, the tension builds. The anxiety grows. And you start to wonder if something is wrong with you. But nothing is wrong. You are simply experiencing the weight of your own resistance. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That is not apathy. That is wisdom. Because trying to control what you never had power over will only drain you. Real peace begins when you stop gripping so tightly. When you loosen the need for things to go your way. When you trust that life is wiser than your plan. Rule number 4: learn to hold things loosely. People. Outcomes. Titles. Stories. You can love deeply and still let go. You can care passionately and still release your grip. You can be fully present without being emotionally dependent. That is not detachment. That is maturity. That is a love rooted in freedom, not fear. Peace grows in the space where control ends. It grows when you stop chasing closure from those who cannot give it. When you stop forcing conversations that are not ready to be had. When you stop waiting for someone to finally see your worth before you believe in it yourself. The less you need things to look a certain way, the more peace you will feel because you are no longer living in mental conflict with reality. Let go, not because you no longer care, but because you care enough to protect your sanity. Let go, not because you gave up, but because you gave into the flow of what is real. And in that surrender, you will find something deeper than control. You will find clarity. And in clarity, peace becomes effortless. Your body is your first home. Clean it. Strengthen it. Respect it. Not for beauty. Not for approval. Not to re-win time. But because everything you want to build from here, your peace, your focus, your wealth depends on this foundation. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if your body is in constant survival mode, your spirit will not have the space to rise. After 40, your body starts whispering the truth you used to ignore. The fatigue is no longer fixed by one night of sleep. The stress shows up in your joints, your digestion, your breath. And suddenly, the things you once considered small: water, movement, sleep, posture, become sacred. You realize your body is not a machine to be pushed. It is a partner to be listened to. Marcus Aurelius believed in honoring nature, and your body is part of that nature. It is not separate from your mind, your purpose, your growth. It is the vessel through which everything flows. You cannot think clearly if your body is inflamed. You cannot love fully if your body is neglected. You cannot serve others powerfully if your own systems are depleted. Rule number 5: make your health non-negotiable. Not extreme. Not performative. Just non-negotiable. That means movement every day, not to punish yourself, but to wake your cells. That means eating foods that leave you feeling light, not sluggish. That means sleeping as if your next decade depends on it, because it does. Health is not about having a perfect routine. It is about having a deep respect for how much your body carries. Every emotion. Every memory. every decision. And when you treat it with care, it responds. It calms. It supports. It sharpens. This part hit me deeply. For a long time, I kept thinking I needed a better version of myself, a better place, or better tools before I could start. But the truth is, I was just afraid to start small. I didn't want to look unfinished. But now I realize there's power in beginning right where you are with what you already have. Not later, not elsewhere. No. Your mind becomes clearer. Your moods more stable. Your energy more consistent. And suddenly, the things that once felt impossible begin to feel manageable again. You do not need to do everything. You just need to start doing the right things consistently. Hydrate before you caffeinate. Walk before you scroll. Stretch before you use it for hours. Eat foods that were alive before they hit your plate. Sleep like your dreams depend on it, because they do. Your body is not separate from your success. It is the base. And the more you build upon it with intention, the stronger everything above it becomes. Rest is not a reward. It is a requirement. You were never meant to run without pause, to carry without release, to build without breath. And yet, most of us have spent decades treating rest like it must be earned. Like it is something you get after the 2-do list is finished. But here is the truth: the list never ends. And if you keep postponing rest, life will eventually forbid upon you through burnout, through illness, through the slow erosion of joy. After 40, your body no longer whispers, it speaks clearly. It tightens. It resists. It forgets things more easily. It reacts more sensitively. And what it is telling you is simple: I need rest to recover. Not just sleep, but restoration. Not just a break, but rhythm. Your nervous system was not designed for constant stimulation. You need moments of nothing, so your body can reset, your mind can declutter, and your soul can breathe. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself," and part of mastering yourself is mastering your pace. Learning when to pause. Knowing that stopping is not quitting. That stepping away is not falling behind. That rest is not laziness. It is leadership of your internal world. Rule number 6: build rest into your life like you build appointments into your calendar. Schedule it. Protect it. Honor it. Turn off your phone without guilt. Sit in the sun without a task. Lie down and let your body soften. And when your mind resists, remind yourself, I am not doing nothing. I am doing recovery. And recovery is how I keep going. This is not just physical. Mental rest matters just as much. Set boundaries with how much news you consume. Limit how many decisions you make each day. Say no to things that feel like noise. Even a quiet walk, a long shower, a slow meal, these are forms of mental detox. They return you to yourself. And when you do rest, do it fully. Not half-minded scrolling. Not half-minded worrying. But fully off. Because your body knows the difference. So does your mind. And so does your future. The version of you 5 years from now will thank you not for how hard you worked, but for how well you rested. Because rest is not what takes you away from your goals. It is what carries you toward them stronger, sharper, and still whole. Move daily, not for looks but for life. You do not need 6-pack ABS. You do not need to impress a mirror. You need energy that lasts past noon. You need joints that do not scream every time you bend. You need clarity that cuts through the fog. Movement is not about chasing perfection. It is about preserving function. Because after 40, Every day you do not move is a vote for stiffness, stagnation, and slow decline. Your body was made to move. Not just at the gym. Not just when a trainer tells you to. But throughout the day, in small, intentional ways. A stretch in the morning. I walk after meals. 10 minutes of breathing on movement between meetings. It is not about intensity. It is about consistency. Motion is medicine. Circulation is clarity. And stagnation is slow death. Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." And often the biggest obstacle is not your body, it is your excuses. I am too tired. I do not have time. I will start next week. But movement gives energy, not the other way around. And the more you wait, the harder it becomes. Until one day, you realize the body you ignored is now the body limiting your life. Rule number 7: movement is a daily necessity, not an occasional event. Do something every single day. Walk. Stretch. Lift something. Dance. Breathe deeply while your body shifts. You do not need a gym. You need intention. You do not need a program. You need a promise to yourself. Because movement is not just physical. It sharpens your thoughts. It stabilizes your mood. It flushes stress. It rebuilds trust between you and your body. Every time you move with care, your body remembers, I am still alive. I am still strong. I still belong to someone who shows up for me. The goal is not youth. It is vitality. It is being able to carry your groceries, to play with your grandchildren, to take stairs without pain, to wake up without dread. That is what movement gives you: freedom. And nothing you achieve in this life matters more than the ability to fully live it. So today, move. Not to punish your body, but to honor it. Not to shrink it, but to wake it up. Not to chase an image, but to reclaim your life. Health is not about adding more. It is about removing what harms you. Not just sugar or processed food, but habits, environments, and thoughts that silently corrode your vitality. Most people think improving their health means doing more. More supplements. More workouts. More rules. But real healing often begins with subtraction. With saying, this no longer serves me, and having the courage to let it go. After 40, your body becomes less tolerant of what you used to get away with. The late nights. The constant stress. The emotional eating. The alcohol just to relax. And the worst part? You may not even notice how these things are affecting you until one day your energy crashes, your blood pressure rises, your sleep disappears, or your mood becomes unpredictable. It does not happen all at once. It happens quietly, gradually, until normal becomes unhealthy and you forget what real vitality even felt like. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." But in matters of health, the opposite is also true. Sometimes we are hurting more than we realize, simply because we have become used to it. You are not supposed to wake up in pain every morning. You are not supposed to crash every afternoon. You are not supposed to feel foggy, bloated, anxious, or wired minus tired all day long. That may be common, but it is not normal. Rule number 8: begin your healing not by chasing more, but by removing what consistently drains you. Start with what you consume, not just food, but content. What you scroll affects your chemistry. What you watch shapes your nervous system. Clean your digital diet. Reduce the noise. Make space for stillness. Then look at your kitchen. not with judgment but with truth. Ask, is this helping or hurting? And let that answer shape your next decision. You do not need to do everything at once. Start small. Cut what causes inflammation, physical or emotional. Remove what spikes your anxiety. Distance yourself from what leaves you feeling worse, not better. This is not about rules. It is about restoration. You are not fixing a problem. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you truly chose your peace, your path, your voice? If it's been a while, this is your invitation. Not to chase youth, but to own your story from this chapter onward. You are clearing space for your body to do what it was designed to do, heal. And the beautiful part is this: the more you remove what harms you, the more clearly you will hear what helps. You will crave water again. You will hunger for real food. You will feel the pull toward fresh air, toward quiet, toward people who calm your nervous system instead of igniting it. This is not a detox. This is a return. So ask yourself, what am I tolerating that my body is begging me to release? And when the answer comes, listen. Then begin. Not with guilt, but with love. Wealth is not what you earn. It is what you keep. Because money that comes fast, without discipline, leaves just as quickly. At 20, you chase income. At 30, you chase titles. But after 40, you start chasing something else: freedom. And you begin to realize that freedom does not come from how much you make, but from how well you manage what you already have. Most people do not have a money problem. They have a meaning problem. They spend to escape. They buy to prove. They upgrade things that were never broken. And in the process, they trade peace of mind for possessions. But after a while, the clutter becomes noise. The debt becomes weight. And you start to see clearly: more is not better. Smarter is better. Simpler is better. Clearer is richer. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about wealth, but he lived as one of the most powerful men in the world. And still, he warned against luxury, against excess, against the illusion that external riches could bring internal peace. That truth has not changed. A quiet home is worth more than a large one filled with stress. An emergency fund is worth more than designer clothes. A flexible schedule is worth more than an inflated paycheck tied to burnout. Rule number 9: build wealth by mastering what you keep. Start with your spending. Track every dollar. Not obsessively. Just honestly. Look at what you are funding. Look at what you are avoiding. Money is emotional. It tells the story of your fears, your desires, your impulses. And when you face that story, you can begin to rewrite it. Then protect your future self. Not by gambling, but by preparing. Save even when you could spend. Invest even when it feels small. Because small grows slowly but surely. The money you protect now becomes the freedom you live later. Not just to retire, but to choose. To say no to toxic work. To walk away from chaos. To create without fear. And above all, do not confuse lifestyle with wealth. One looks rich. The other builds richness. One shines quickly. The other lasts. Choose the one that endures. Choose the habits that compound. Choose the quiet confidence of knowing that you are not just working for money, you are making money work for you. Your time is your most valuable currency. Spend it like it matters. You can earn more money. You can replace material things. But you cannot buy back time once it is gone. Every hour you give away is an investment. Every meeting, every call, every scroll is a trade. And after 40, those trades become more visible, more costly. Because the older you get, the more clearly you see not everything deserves your attention and almost nothing deserves your entire day. For years, you may have said yes too easily, out of obligation, out of guilt, out of fear that saying no would make you look selfish or ungrateful. But that time is over. Now your time is sacred. It is how you build your legacy. It is how you protect your energy. It is how you show love to your future self. Because wealth is not just financial, it is control over your minutes, your mornings, your calendar, your focus. Seneca wrote, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." Time is the ultimate measure of your values. How you spend it reveals what you truly prioritize, not what you say, but what you live. So if you say health matters, but you never block time to move, question that. If you say relationships matter, but you are always rushing, rethink that. Your life is not what you intend. It is what you repeat. Rule number 10: audit your time like you audit your finances. Where is it going? What are you overpaying? What gives the highest return? What drains with no return at all? Start tracking not just tasks but energy. Who leaves you better? What leaves you lighter? And then adjust. Ruthlessly. This does not mean becoming rigid. It means becoming intentional. Wake up with a plan. Block hours for deep focus. Schedule space for nothing. Treat rest like a priority, not an afterthought. And most importantly, guard the hours when you are most alive. Do not give them to things that leave you numb. And when someone asks for your time, ask yourself first, would I give them my money for this? If the answer is no, maybe your time deserves the same protection. Because once you begin to value your time, you will notice a powerful shift. Your boundaries tighten. Your standards rise. Your days simplify. And your life finally begins to feel like it is truly yours. Your skill set is your security. Not your job title. Not your degree. Not the company you work for. Those things can be taken, restructured, made obsolete. But your ability to solve problems, communicate clearly, lead calmly, adapt quickly, those stay with you. They go where you go. And after 40, you begin to realize the most valuable thing you can invest in is not the market, it is yourself. Many people tie their identity to a paycheck. I rule. I routine. And when disruption comes, and it always does, they are left scrambling. But those who have cultivated skills, not just roles, are never truly at risk. They may lose a position, but not their power. Because power now lives in the transferable, in the sharpened, in the practiced. Marcus Aurelius led through plagues, wars, betrayals. Not because he had a perfect plan, but because he had mastered presence. Resilience. The inner tools that did not need a job description to function. That is what you must build. Not just hard skills, but timeless ones. Emotional intelligence. Clear communication. Focus. Curiosity. The ability to learn quickly, humbly, relentlessly. Rule number 11: build skills, not just careers. Ask yourself, if everything you own was stripped away, what could you offer the world tomorrow? What value could you create with nothing but your voice, your mind, your hands? That answer is your real wealth. And it is never too late to increase it. Read more. Not just for knowledge, but for perspective. Write more. Not to be a writer, but to organize your thoughts. Speak more clearly. Listen more deeply. Take classes. Build. Tinker. Offer. Serve. Every hour you spend refining your skill is a deposit into your future freedom. And this is not about being the best. It is about being useful. In any room. In any context. It is about knowing that no matter what happens, you have something to offer. That is security. That is leverage. That is the kind of wealth that does not crash when markets do. So if you are feeling uncertain about the future, do not just save more. Skill more. Make yourself recession minus proof. Layoff minus proof. Identity minus proof. Because in a world that changes fast, those who keep learning, keep winning. Quietly. Consistently. With no one to impress, just something to become. True wealth is the freedom to live on your own terms. Not just financial freedom, but freedom of time. Freedom of energy. Freedom from anxiety about what others think. Freedom from the noise of expectations that no longer fit. That kind of wealth is not always visible. It does not always come with applause. But you feel it deeply. In the way you breathe. In the way you choose. In the way you no longer seek permission to be fully, unapologetically yourself. After 40, your definition of wealth matures. It shifts from accumulation to alignment. From excess to enough. From chasing to choosing. You stop asking, how much can I get? You've come this far, and that says something powerful about you. Not everyone chooses to grow after life gets loud and complicated. But you did. And that choice, quiet as it may seem, is how reinvention begins. Because true wealth is not in your net worth, it is in your daily experience. Marcus Aurelius never measured life in luxury. He measured it in presence. In whether he met each day with purpose, with reason, with integrity. That is the real currency. How you feel when you wake up. What you tolerate. What you pursue. What you walk away from without guilt. Rule number 12: define success on your own terms and live by that definition, even if no one claps. Because if your life looks good on paper but feels heavy in your body, it is not success. If it earns praise but costs you peace, it is not wealth. Your terms matter. And the beautiful thing is you get to rewrite them at any time. Maybe freedom means working fewer hours and earning less but having more time with your children. Maybe it means letting go of status so you can reclaim sanity. Maybe it means downsizing your lifestyle but upgrading your health. Whatever it is, honor it. Because life is too short to spend decades building someone else's version of success. This journey, these 100 life lessons, were never about self-improvement for its own sake. They were about liberation. About returning to yourself. About realizing that the life you want is not found in someday. It is built in the smallest choices you make today. What you say yes to. What you say no to. What you protect. What you release. You are not here to fit in. You are here to become. And becoming requires clarity, discipline, boundaries, movement, stillness, and above all, courage. The courage to choose your path, even if it looks different from everyone else's. The courage to protect your peace, honor your health, and build wealth that reflects your truth. This is your life. This is your time. Live it like it matters, because it does. If this journey has stirred something inside you, hold on to it. Nurture it. Don't let this be just another video. Let it be a mirror, a reminder that you still have time, choices, and power. And if this message spoke to you, stay with us. Let's keep lighting up your mind, one story at a time.